Hello friends, I'm Colonel Failure and you're Transport Fevering here on the Colonel Failure Transport Fevering channel. And we're looking at this rather splendid steel arch, I should say, bridge that we constructed last time around. I'm pretty sure it's got room enough for shipping to go underneath, but I didn't check at the time. There we go, all green, all groovy. And you know, I'm going to work on some shipping in the near future. But before we get underway with today's main activity, there's a train for you. I thought I'd take the time to make sure that the commuting service that I'd initially set up between Sioux Falls and El Paso actually had the likelihood of working, and we're going to conduct that at high speed. To show you what I'm talking about here, we'll head down a bit of El Paso, a bit of Sioux Falls, and this dead zone in between. Now, what I want to do is I want to set up yet another station. My goodness, it's like I've gone station crazy in the middle here, and then make sure that there will be demand for that area. Hopefully, towards the later game, we'll get a little bit of expansion coming out of Sioux Falls in this direction, and a little bit of expansion coming out of El Paso in this direction. But at the moment, it doesn't look that way. So I'm going to make sure this works, and I will reveal why after I've got it done. So stick around and watch the action. Okay, that'll about do it for the moment. What I'm going to do is while you're elsewhere, is I will, on occasion, continue to plunk down a few more buildings of this kind. Now, I don't expect, I mean, based on experiments that I've done so far, I don't expect the AI to pick up the slack and start developing these areas. It simply does not look like it's viable. But I will basically just pack this whole area out with placed buildings. Now, the hope in doing that is that it will mean that this commuter line is highly, highly profitable, and as such, we will have less dependence on the port barrel mod. But more importantly, is that once we start developing all of these lines here, and they're all fully operational and so forth, that it should provide quite the spectacle, friends. So I'm going to work on that while you're away, because it's not the most riveting thing to watch as me just plopping down a bunch of buildings. But there we go. So as you can see, we've already got plenty of people trying to make use of stuff here, and this new station that we stuck in has also picked up a few passengers. So that's all good. Now, that brings us on to our mod of the day. We've actually got two mods of the day. The first of which, however, is the flexible station mod. Now, I barely scratched the surface of it with my use here, but as you can see, when it's outlined in this fashion, it does have the slightest of kinks going on to that end. And we've got no fewer than 6 connections to the town area, which should prove to be most useful if you're trying to squeak a station into an awkward area. I'll just show off a little bit of what it can do here. So if we if we look overhead, I think it's more pronounced the longer you make the station. So we've already got our 6 town connections, but you can decide on having, slightly weird connectivity options if that suits you. You can have up to 8 tracks, obviously. The interesting ones, though, that I look forward to playing with is track spacing. So you can reduce the amount of space between tracks. You can then also include transit area. So you can run stuff through the middle of it. So we can put some transit area here and there and all over the place to make really quite an exciting looking station. And then you can pronounce the curves however it suits you best. It really is an incredibly flexible, I apologise, an incredibly flexible mod that you can use so that your stations fit exactly as you want them to. And I don't doubt that I will be using this one again before too long. Anyway, let's get on to the main body of work for today, shall we? So our primary network here is, well, it's kind of ticking along. Profit-wise, it's not a pretty sight. I'm going to hit up some pork barreling again to get this done. But my aim is that by the year 2000, I'm no longer pork barreling anything, and then we will go with purely profit earned in order to make things work. I've also finished renaming all the cities now, so this is the final city names. You've got Indianapolis here, Krakow, Shanghai, Wellington, Barcelona, Brussels, Dortmund, Wolverhampton, Rill, Grand Junction and Vancouver. So there you go. That is your station allotment right there. No further stations are required. Right, I'm going to pork up some barrel and then we'll crack on with today's endeavour. Okay, there's Pork Barrel Central, looking in that way that it does. I'm going to pause just for a moment. So that's 300 pork barrels I've now used. 301. I mustn't forget the erroneous one that we had placed out there. Right, okay, today's focus is going to be Brussels, just to get that rolling. And I want Brussels, which already has a connection to Detroit here. I want a connection out to Grand Junction, and then furthermore from there I think we'll probably head to Barcelona. Nothing too revolutionary in the way we're setting that up, but the overall aim is the same as it's ever been, and that is to really maximise the throughput of trains we have coming in. Now, I've left a blank station end there. I will probably, maybe, possibly, there you go, that's all eventualities covered there. Actually, no, will I? Yes, I will. I will possibly run a line from there out to Vancouver later on. As you can see, Vancouver's all the way out there, but it does feel more sensible, actually, to go through Grand Junction, doesn't it? So what I'll do instead, there you go, this is what we'll do instead, is we'll run 2 lines out towards Grand Junction, and then they have an option of which platform they come into once they arrive here in the European capital. Now, the hope with all of these extra large stations is that is that we use all the platforms with distinct services. We're not going to build excessively large platforms without an aim behind them, as much as an enormous flipping station is quite the sight to behold. I am a believer in them having some purpose, and so we'll aim for that. Now then, what do we want to do here? Let's try a test case and see what we get. Yeah, it's a tunnel, isn't it? Okay, let's go with that, and that should work just fine. It should work just fine. It doesn't really have much of a choice in the matter. We've just gone straight through for the tunnel. Now, normally at this stage of things, and it's something that I'm quite aware of with this series, I wouldn't be quite so free and easy when it came to burning money on things like tunnels and double tracking and bulldozing the centre of town and so forth, because you can't just do that and expect to get away with it without incurring a significant amount of financial difficulty for some time. And it does. I freely admit it does take away a little bit of the joy of the game, knowing that you are completely able to do as you see fit. when it comes to expenditure. So yeah, it's an interesting one for certain. And I will probably amend how I do things later on. Not necessarily in this series, but we will look into returning the challenge that keeps us all entertained. Let's have a look. So this is going to go on that side. So I've got this actually bending the wrong direction. So this is going to be the Vancouver line here. Do I want a gap in the middle? I don't think I actually do. No, I don't think I do at all. So we'll keep that as a straightforward throughput station, and have it heading out rather like this. We'll then have both street connections there. Okay, how does that look? Well, that looks spot on. There you go. So your flexible station mod, flexing station wood there, and that should do the trick nicely if it will just stay put. Arguably, I've got those two end bits of road a little bit too long. Let's reduce the length of those. Go on, do you want to go a little bit straighter? There we are. All right, take that, and indeed party. In which case, no, in which case that's absolutely fine. Right, let's put that back in and pay. Right, okay, smashing. So I'm going to run the two-station approach here in Grand Junction. It seems to make sense, doesn't it? Given the name of the place. The other will run out to Rill and perhaps Wolves and Dortmund, and we'll give the trains the choice of where they want to go on the way in. Let's get rid of all of this country road rubbish, and we'll have another one that flexes the other way. Curvature B, sure, yes, no, other way. That's it, like that. There you go. Yeah. See, look, you can't. It's not often that I'll sling a new mod in and then use the heck out of it on the first turn. So I'm actually really pleased with this. In fact, if with this particular mod, you don't really need any other station mods apart from if you're going to glamorize the appearance of them. Now you see what you wanted to do there was you need your second road connection, which lives somewhere like that. Apply, please, thank you. Right, and we'll run that one out to here. Don't really want to remove all the buildings if I can avoid doing so, but we'll remove enough to make it work. Now I'm probably still going to need some form of connection that crosses from one side of the town to the other. But part of what I'm trying to do in this early stage is connect everything up. So make it so that there's at least one or two connections between each town, and from there, with a bit of luck, we'll get good growth coming out of all of those towns. Now later on, this is called the Metropolis series for a reason, and there's likewise there's a reason that I've chosen a smaller map this time around. And that is that I want to pack out as much of this as possible. So if you say that there's like 12 cities in total, which I think is about right, maybe 12, maybe 13, I want to make sure that each one of those towns is being serviced by every other town, so that there is a route that connects everything to everything effectively, and maybe one or two changes along the way in terms of switching onto a different line, but just to keep things utterly moving along, we want to ensure that that's the case, because that should fuel absolutely enormous levels of growth, and therefore lead us to rather a lot of success. Or at least, additional growth. Given that every connection leads to more connections, we'll go with a straightforward steel bridge there. Still room for some shipping underneath. I hadn't really intended to go all the way to Vancouver this time, but I think I might as well. Because that, again, gives us a bit of another connection to play with. Right. Now, I'm using the extremely exciting bridge sparingly here, because, if you use it all the time, then it is no longer special in any fashion at all. Right, now then, what you haven't thought about here my friend, is how exactly you're going to connect onto that. You've got a slightly aggressive angle coming in there. You do have the other end though, which again is I think your bulldozer's about to come out, and you're about to remove that bridge you just paid through the nose for. So well done, you. Oh, yes, oh, yes, I'd be saying oh as well. Right, okay, well, no, well, we've rolled our dice, and this is where we've ended up. Now then, we could. Oh, that might be interesting. Okay, right. If we back this one up a little here, and then and give it a slightly aggressive corner. 45 should be aggressive enough. And then from the next platform over here, we do the same thing. So we send both of these out this way. Yep, that'll work. There we are. Right, then we have the option to do a two-way and a one-way coming in and out of the station. So we can have a Detroit that runs up through Vancouver and continues onwards to Grand Junction that way before, well, potentially heading round and ending up in Detroit and then backing up on itself. So going end to end like that. That's an interesting route. Yeah, equally, the aim will be to have multiple trains going between each pairing of stations. That's never going to work. That is never going to work. Unless it does, in which case it's going to work, and you always knew it would do. Yeah, so instead of just having one route between Detroit and Vancouver that takes in a couple of places, we'll do two or three that takes in a selection of different venues. What a waste of money. Normally this would yield a sharp intake of breath, and you know what? I am genuinely missing it. I am genuinely missing the fear that comes from laying the track wrong. But I still believe that this is going to pay off. This is going to be rather wondrous once we're done with it. There you go. That's where you want to go. Put a good bridge on there. There you go, across here. Yeah, that's the ticket. And then hook them up. Now then, once I've finished with all of this kind of primary infrastructure nonsense, we'll also connect all the roads back up again. And I want to make just as much fuss about the roads as I do about the rail this time around. There you go. You know what? I like that. So you've got a track switch at that end as well. Grand Junction is part and parcel, and then at Brussels you're going to want another track switch going on here. So it's going to have to be here, I suppose. Right, and just like that. Okay, splendid. Well, yeah, that's a rip-roaring success right there. Now you've got one depot here, which is super, but that's not really going to be sufficient now, is it? You're going to need something to get yourself up on that one. Wherever it was I said else I was going. Did I make some lofty notion about going to Indianapolis? I think I possibly did. We're not doing that today. We've got enough of a challenge ahead of us in making this work. Right, we'll put one on there, and we'll put one on here, and then we'll get into your standard pairings. There you go. Yep, that's the stuff. Now, I don't like sticking signals in tunnels, so I'd rather have a signal before the tunnel to make that happen. Now then, we'll put another one here, which means that last one is largely redundant. In fact, that one's in a terrible place, so let's get rid of both of these. Go on, there you go, thank you. And we'll stick another one on there, and keep going. Right, there we go. So we got Grand Junction has rapidly established itself as a junction, and yeah, I look forward to expanding that out. Actually, that's going to be quite good fun. But I don't just want it to go to Brussels, going in the southern direction. We want to go somewhere else as well. Exactly where, I don't yet know. But the hope is that once we're getting towards completion in terms of network, that the nested route opportunities going on are really quite significant. That's the aspiration we've got there. Now both of these are going to be two-way pieces of track, so stopping everyone here makes maximum sense. Right. Okay. Good. Anything else we need to do before flinging some ironwork up here? I don't think so. No, that looks good. Although we have used up all of the money again. You don't have to go through it quickly when you're not paying too, excessive due care and attention. We'll get just enough to buy a couple of trains here. And then we really need to let it run for a bit in order for the game to catch up with... how wonky are you intending to make this one? Quite wonky, I think, is the answer there. I think that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can count in my head, but I choose not to for your entertainment. There we go, yeah. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, that'll be more than enough. 32 million. Right, we need to rock some trains with that. So actually, this top-down view is a good place to roll with this. So we're going to run Brussels to Grand Junction to Vancouver. That would appear to be making sense. And then we'll also run Detroit to Grand Junction, which we're already doing, and we'll do a Detroit Grand Junction Vancouver. Back to Detroit. It's an interesting one. Yeah, okay. All right, fine. So so everyone can get to Grand Junction, the question is, can I get onto the Brussels line? Because if so, I can use my primary depot for this. So it's a question of, well, obviously you can. Obviously you can. Although, where's this going to catch up? Brussels. We don't yet have a Detroit to Grand Junction direct line, so we possibly ought to do that next. Okay, well, there's only one route, one piece of track here that makes sense for that, isn't there? So if we go out this way, right, and then we'll run, what do we think, all 3 or just 2 of them, with the third one going the other way? Actually, we're already a little low on space here. Maybe have a secondary thought about that. So there's 1. That's it. Yeah. All right. Okay. All 3. That's it. And then basically that means that we've got to have 3 different lines that could come in from this direction. To make sense of that. Right, now let's get straight across the river. That bit of road, despite being a beautiful piece of road for kind of shadowing the side of the river, unfortunately isn't going to make the cut. Now then, we want to merge on about there, ideally. So actually, if we shorten the length, that'll give us a little bit more manoeuvring space. Yeah, and then you just do that for the moment, and we'll figure out exactly how to make that split merge for the good of all in due course. Right, okay, now it looks like this is going to end up being quite an abrupt angle that we have going on here. No, there's an alternative. And the alternative's it's interesting. So the alternative would be to cross out like that and have a secondary junction here. Let's give that a go and see what it does. Let's get rid of that one as well for the moment. No, I don't need to edit it. Just remove the thing. There we go. Right, now then. Give it some thought and then lay track onto the ground. Right. That's the... ooh, interesting. That is interesting. Yeah, I like it because it's messy. Yeah, we'll go with that. Construction's not possible. That's a real shame. That's annoying. Yeah, it's because you've got it in the wrong place. All right, try it again, but better. You're careful. We don't want to delete something that we later rely on in court. There we go. Right. Right, so we're going to come across like that, which is not what I... Oh, actually, that's even better. We'll take it, but please fit. There we go. There we go. That's quite the hectic level of junctionage going on there. Now, I'm not overly thrilled with it because it means that I'm blocking off, well, everything. There is the opportunity for many services to be disrupted by one train alone. But I still think it's going to work. Right, you go onto there. And then you come down onto this one. And then you mingle onto there. Okay, I have absolutely no doubt there is a more glamorous way of doing this, but you know what? I quite like it as is. You know, I did warts and all, and I'm quite keen on this. You could have done that better though. Hold on, let's find the junction. There we go. Let's try it again. Right, I will undoubtedly need to play with the points here to make sure they work. But what I can do immediately is fiddle with signals. So if we just interfere with the in signal each time, like that, and then this one, that at least should work. Emphasis on the word should. Right, excellent. How much of a kink have we got in the track here? We've got a fair... That's a bit of a lump you've got there. All right, I'll probably relay that a bit later and make it slightly neater. But it will do as a get us rolling kind of an approach. Hold on. I've been talking about using Detroit as the origination point here, but of course this is not hooked up onto the main thrust. So whatever it is that I end up using needs to come in through Vancouver, which is fine, which is not fine, which is not fine. Can't make it work unless we sling this over here. All right, well, we'll try it and find out. Okay, so we're going to go for, I don't know, 3 routes with a train apiece, and then we'll see how we get on. Okay, line 1 is going to be, where are we? This is Brussels. All right, so it's going to be Brussels to your Junction Grand up to Vancouver. Right, let's check that it's thought about its track laying out correctly. Appears to have done so. Yeah, splendid. Okay, that's good. Oh, obviously stops at Grand Junction on the way back. Can't leave those people out. Right, so this is going to be BRX, which is what I'm going to call Brussels from now on. I appear to have just developed a brand new naming convention. Hang on. ELPS, no, we use the full town name when it's a passenger route. So this is going to be Brussels, Vancouver. Right, that's that one. Next one is going to be Detroit to Vancouver. No, it's not. Or is it? Yes, it is. Detroit, Vancouver. And that one's going to run from here to Grand Junction to Vancouver. Now, can I get onto the right platform to continue my journey on? I can, but I'm not yet set up for full backing services. So we'll leave that. Doing it sensibly. There we go. Yep, all right, that looks fine. And then one more. Now, what's the last one going to be then? We could go Detroit, Brussels, Grand Junction, Detroit. I don't much like that. I think 2 routes might be enough for the moment, and then we'll have a think about how we start to make a couple of circuits, maybe. Right. Okay. So the real challenge is going to be, can we make this work? Given that both of these hit Vancouver, can we make it work from the primary depot? So we want to get onto this line here, and that means we're going to run round from this end. Does that make sense? I guess it does. Okay, right. Now, I saw that the Mogul had just been released. 47 the Mogul will do, versus the Baldwin's 37. Yes, that's the perfect choice then. So we'll go with one of those, and then let's have a look at our wagon choices going on here. Clerestory it is. Clerestory or death. Right. So that's 34.60. 64, even 32.64. That should be more than enough, but we'll put one more on anyway. 80. Good looking train. And can we get 4 of these? We can indeed. Right. That's the stuff. Right. You, let's see if it will take it. Go to Brussels, Vancouver. Apparently it can find the line. That's a good place to start. All right then. Okay, we're in business. All right, that's pretty positive. We'll set this one on Detroit. No, Detroit, Vancouver, and then we'll just rinse and repeat. So we'll go Brussels, Vancouver, and then Detroit, Vancouver. Right, and we're off. We're off. We're rolling. We're in business. Let's aggressively up the tempo here and get these guys out of the shed. In fact, let's semi up the tempo so that at least we can enjoy things at a somewhat realistic pace. There's the next one. Actually, there is a surprising lack of services coming into the station here at the moment. I'm not sure what that's all about. Unless they're all stuck somewhere. I did notice while I was placing houses down that the commuter service had got snarled up. And given that I'm not seeing any trains up here at all, apart from up here where all the trains currently are, okay, who's causing me trouble here? Well, it's you, isn't it? All right, turn around. I don't think it can actually go any further. Are you turning around at this point? No, you're not. You should be continuing up the track, you flipping interloper of great dismay. Right, in which case I will up the tempo here and we'll clear this backlog. Because nothing's going to happen while there is an enormous queue of trains waiting to go through. So you're using the bubble turn here in order to get back in the right direction. And you know what? Since we're passing and we've got we're waiting for stuff to happen, I'm going to stick a little residential something or other just out here in order to just fuel one passenger. Now this will come into its own once I run a roads commuter service that way as well. But for the moment, we might as well provide at least a couple of passengers. Right, there we go. We've actually got some movement happening now. one would hope. Right, what are you? You're a commuter. Where's the first main line then? Given that this is a shared route. There you go. That's the main line. You know what? Detroit Grand Central isn't that big. And I know Detroit's got a pair of stations to play with, but you know, for something that is carrying quite a large volume of traffic, it really doesn't get given the time of day very much. Right, I'm going to wrap this up here because, as I'm sure you can hear, my throat is about giving out on me, such is the legacy of having the sniffles. I'll catch up with you very soon, and we'll do a little bit more mod work. While you're away, I shall continue putting together some of these commuting towns, so that we can get things rolling and hopefully remove our over-reliance on pork barrels. Anyway, I've been Colonel Failure. It might not sound like it, but I have anyway. Chuck a like at this one if you enjoyed it. I suffer for my art. There you go. Let's put that in there. Subscribe if you've not done so already, and I'll be back very soon with a little bit more of the same. Thank you for watching. Cheerio.